Rakta Yahawashah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawashah.
With this crown, I declare you our sovereign. All hail the king! I, Esdras, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord Yahweh, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI, with songs. And in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. Receive this crown as a blessing from the Most High. May your reign be just and prosperous. So I asked the angel, and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh, Bahasham, YAHAWASHI. With this crown, I bestow upon you the legacy of our people. Rule wisely. Now are they crowned, and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is the Son of Yahweh, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. With this crown, I charge you to lead our people with wisdom and strength. All hail the new king. Hail! Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way, and tell my people what manner of things, and how great wonders of the Lord thy God thou hast seen. I now crown you king. All hail the new king. Long live the king!
Rakta Yahawashah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawashah. Rakta Yahawashah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawah, Rakta Yahawashah.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashah, Bahasham, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and its sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashim Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom I came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today is a continuation, all right, in the book of 2 Corinthians, all right, chapter 13, which is the last book, all right, of the book of 2 Corinthians, so this conclude, all right, the series dealing with the books of Corinthians, written, all right, by Apostle Paul to the church of Corinth, okay, and so we get to the 13th chapter, and the theme of this chapter, is self-examination, which 2 Corinthians, 2, and now 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5, comes out a lot, when brothers, go into self-examination, which is a major part of the truth, something that has to be done often, we should be in a constant state of prayer, in a constant state of self-examination, because even in prayer, asking the Lord, to show us things that he wants us to change, especially coming into these times when we're going to have to fully trust in our power, All right, and we're gonna have to be compatible, with the body on another level. As we come into a time, of being selfless. Things are gonna tighten up. Okay, resources are gonna be, scarce. Okay, we're gonna be on the straight gate. Okay, before the Lord's favor, kicks in. You know, we really gonna have to apply these scriptures. Okay, on a whole nother level. Okay, so we're constantly, examining ourselves to see where we at. Which is gonna go into it. So let's get it. All right. This is 2 Corinthians 13:1. It said, "This is the third time I am coming, all right, to visit you. And as the scriptures say, the facts, okay, of every case must be established by the testimony or 2 or 3 witnesses." So he's liking his visits, as a witness. So each visit he considers, compared to a witness, okay, in the case. So he said this third time is going to establish, where y'all at. you know, you know, how come this time, like, it's really going to be, some major decisions made. Okay, you see, as you go into that law of Deuteronomy 19:15, it said, "I have already warned, all right, those who had been sinning when I was there on my second visit. Now again, all right, now I again warn them and all other just as I did before, that next time I will not spare them." Okay, so Apostle Paul, like, look, the second time I was there, I left, a warning, all right, for particular, okay, members of the church, okay, and I'm coming again, and if they on that bullshit, I ain't gonna spare them. So Apostle Paul, he's hard on the church of Corinth, because you gotta be, whenever you gotta break up, bad behavior, you gotta be strict. You see, and that's why the heathens, they're gonna go through their 1,000 years of rigorous captivity, okay, to break up, okay, that influence of Esau that's in them, okay, that rebellious spirit, okay, that's in them, being under Esau. Okay, that shit gotta be broken up. Okay, 1,000 years, the beginning of our kingdom. All right, the first 1,000 years. Okay, and this is it's gonna be the stage. Okay, where righteousness is instilled in the earth. All right, and there's gonna be no doubt that, hey, ain't no other way. You see, ain't gonna. You see, the heathen, they ain't gonna begin to be able, to try anything. Now it's gonna be pressure for their first, 1,000 years. Okay, dismantling their rebellion that's in them from Esau. To break up something that's been instilled in someone. You know, you have to, apply pressure, man. You know, it says, "I will give you all the proof." All right, you want that Yahweh Shai speaks through me. Yahweh Shai is not weak. All right, when he deals with you, he is powerful among you. Although he was crucified in weakness, he laid his life down. He was likened unto a lamb, okay, to be that sacrifice. Okay, but he's coming back as well, that lion, the conquering lion of Judah, but he had to be that lamb first. Okay, according to prophecy, man, and according to our need of a sacrifice as a people. Okay, it says he now lives by the power of the Most High. We too are weak, just as Hamashiach was. But when we deal with you, we will be alive with him and will have the Most High's power. Okay? So Apostle Paul, like, look, I come, we come in meekness. Apostle Paul, like, look, I don't, he let him know I don't get off and just trying to come and, just be this brute. You see, just this show of force, because it's about Yahawashi, okay, growing in you. Okay, it's not about the authority that I have, but if it takes that authority, okay, to produce or uh, uh to enhance the house Yahawashi that's in you, to bring out, to draw out. It's a better word, to draw out the Yahawashi that's in you. Then, hey, I'm gonna do what need to be done. Okay, so let's go here and go to the KJV for verse 5. Like how it's okay. Like I say, this is the precept that we bring out often. You know, 2 Corinthians 13:5 it says, "Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves. Know that Yahweh Shah Hamashiach is in you, except you be reprobates. Reprobates. Okay, and is void of judgment. Okay, and what you see amongst these men, they have taken the bag and teaching everything and remixing the doctrine and saying this and saying that. These are men who don't examine themselves, man. You see, they measure themselves by, the praise on the comment board, okay, their bank accounts, okay, their praises of men, okay, the views, and you see, they compare themselves, with each other, the debates, how they able to confound, Christians at one point, and which now they agree with them, shows you that they're reprobate, you know, you see, because now they agree with them. All right, but what you see, even amongst jakes that fall out, they begin to stop examining themselves, man. And there's a major tool that we have in the truth, okay, to keep us in line. All right, and it's all through the fear of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai that we see the need to examine ourselves. If we, fear, okay, our power, okay, then self-examination is by default because you want to be pleasing to your power. We want to be pleasing to our power, man. And understanding, the corruption that we was brought up in, the filth, okay, the culture of degeneracy and rebellion that we was, cultivated in, okay. We know that there's certain things that need to be addressed, and the Lord draws certain things out for them to be addressed. Okay, so let's go to the word examine.
Strong's G 3985, Pyrazzo.
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 Okay, and jump down to the main. It says to try, all right, to make trial of, to test for the purpose of ascertain his quality or what he thinks or how he will behave himself. So the Lord puts us in these different situations, okay, to see how we react, and that's how we tell where we at. How we react to situation real time, that shows where we at. Okay, and we have to compare that to how we've acted previous times in the same situation. Okay, and this determines where we at. If we're reacting the same way in the same situation that, all right, we reacted 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, okay, then it shows that there's no growth in that area. Okay, so the Lord put us through these trials, for us to examine ourselves, man. And be honest when we assess ourselves and make the adjustment. Or in certain situations you see the growth, like, okay, yeah, I would have did it this way, back then. The Lord show you like, okay, you're growing. Let me show you growing. Keep going. So the Lord always, is putting us in a situation, okay, to where we're being tested and proven and tried, to see if there's adjustments we need to make, or the Lord to show us our growth, to let us know to keep going in their way. Okay, so let's go. Let's go here. I think this word prove. This word prove as well is similar, to the word examine.
Strong's G 1381. Dakimadzo. Dakimadzo.
Yep. And it says to test, to examine, to prove, to scrutinize, to see whether a thing is good or not. All right, as metals, you know. So we're always, being tested and tried, to see our quality. The Lord's always testing our quality in this thing. Okay, he said to recognize a genuine after examination to approve or deem worthy. So this grace period is for us, to heavily self-exam, make the adjustments, man, you know, because it's making us what? Compatible, all right, with YAHAWASHI, compatible with the body, for the sake of salvation. You see? Now let's go here. Um, oh yeah, let's go here. All right. And as we um and as we get a little more advanced, all right, you go Sirach 37, all right, and 28. It says, I started 27. It says, my son, prove thy soul and thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. Okay. So as we, grow in this thing, and we, begin to become, we begin to um, grow into our office, grow into our assignment, you know, we begin to find, our own lane in this thing, because every brother's office is not the same. Okay. And what's profitable, because when you read verse 28, it said, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything, and that's a dynamic of proving ourselves, understanding that within this truth, okay, everything not for everybody. Okay. What a brother excels in, there will be a hindrance unto you. Okay. What you excel in, there will be a hindrance to a brother. It's lawful. You can do it within your liberty. Okay. But we have to be honest with ourselves. That's why Apostle Paul said all things are lawful, but all things aren't expedient. So there's certain things that we can do within the law and within the liberty of Yahawashi, and it can benefit us. And some things, is not expedient for us, and that goes, through, and it goes by trial and error, by trial and error. Okay, we find ourselves in this thing, man. Understanding what works for us. You see? So this all goes into, self-examination. Okay. So let's go here to the book of 2 Corinthians 13:6. But I trust that ye shall know that we are not reprobates. All right. And let's get this word reprobates. Okay. I might have to look it up in Google. All right. So you get this word reprobates.
Strong's G 96. Adakimas. Adakimas.
Yep. Documents. All right. It said not standing the test, not approved. Okay. Not standing the test, not approved. Okay. That which does not prove itself such as it ought, unfit, unproved, spurious, reprobate, man. Okay, so what we see amongst these men, okay, they go left, they sell out or fall out, okay, they don't stand the test. When it's time to apply discipline, when it's time to really deny this world, okay, Jake, choose being cute over truly serving YAHAWASHI. Okay, Jake's choose filthy lucre. They didn't pass the test. Okay, and I said the Lord is always putting us through tests, man. He's always examining us, making us examine ourselves, man. He always putting us under scrutiny, okay, to test our quality, man. And that's why Jacob trouble is going to be their ultimate test. Okay, Revelation, let's get that 3:10. You see, that's going to be their ultimate test, man. To really see, our quality in this thing, man. Because the elect will be what? Refined like gold. Okay? You're refining something, you're going through a process, and then what? You are tested. Okay? You see? It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation which shall come upon all the world, all right, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Okay? So we're coming to the ultimate trial, which is this devil is finna roll out a whole nother system, man. Okay? This system is going to be completely torn down. Okay? It's going to get chaotic. All right? It's going to be pressure. It's uncertainty on another level. You see, and we're really going to have to move by faith. Okay? But those who, in this grace period, who have constantly been going through the process of being refined, being tested, making the adjustments, trusting in the Lord through it all, even when it doesn't make, perfect sense and you can't see how it's going to turn out, trusting in our power, man. That blind faith, we're going to have to have it. You see? So we come into a time, all right, we're going to be tested, man. And if you're still trying to figure out the basics of the doctrine, man, it ain't looking good, man. Okay? If you can't add, it's a great chance you can't multiply, man. Okay? So you come into Jacob trouble and you can't add when you need to do multiplication and long division, it's going to be a long day. Okay? But since we've kept, all right, there's a remnant that's going to keep his word of patience, man. We're going to deal with, okay, being an outcast, being mocked, being lied on, okay, and still teach this true gospel, man. Okay? Not give a damn about the opinions of this world, okay, of the community, okay? So you go into his word kept. It says to attend to carefully, to take care of. Since we've attended, the word of his patience carefully, we took care of it to guard, we guarded. The defenders of the gospel. Okay? So since we kept his word of patience, he's gonna we carefully attended to this word during this grace period, man. We took care of this word, this doctrine. We took care of the sheep as a shepherd. Well, guess what? He's going to carefully attend to us in the hour of temptation. He's going to supply us with the spirit to endure whatever situation we in, man. Because metaphorically, is to keep one in the state in which he is. So we're going to be kept. We're going to be kept. We're not going to bug out. You see, it's going to be Israelites that's going to bug out, man. When this devil really come, because Jake mind ain't they not preparing for this, man. Jake not examining themselves. Jake think they, on level 2020, and Jake on level 3. Okay? Jake really ain't got a true assessment of themselves going into these times, man. And a lot of Jake finna be very unstable out here, man. Okay, you know the truth is just about gossip and hanging out. You have no clue. Okay, because we come into a time we're gonna be ready to lose everything and still have a sound mind. Okay, and that's gonna be through the spirit. All right, of YAHAWASHI Shah, trusting in our power. It says to keep one in the state in which he is, man. So the Lord's going to keep us in the state of sanity, man. You know, trusting in Him. You see, I'll also keep thee, okay, but from the hour or that time period of temptation, okay, because it's going to be tempting. You know, when the devil, you know, he's going to roll this thing out, man. It's going to look like utopia. You know, that's why I say if he could deceive the very elect with signs and lying wonders, man. Okay, so this man is setting up a system. Okay, it's going to look like the way. You see, this man going to present something. He's going to offer something that look like the way. Okay, and if you're confused about what the MOTB is, and okay, you're not fully persuaded in either way. All right, you stand a chance to be taken, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Strong's G 3986. Pyrasmas. Pyrasmas.
Pyrus must. Okay, it says an experiment, a tempt, a trial, a proving. This is the proving that we're going into. Okay, going into, all right, our temptation, man, which is going to be linked with Jacob's trouble, civil unrest. Okay, it says a trial of man's fidelity, integrity, virtue, and constancy, man. Okay, and fidelity is what? Faith. You know, we have to examine ourselves. Are we really die about this? Are we really do we believe that Yahweh Shai is able to raise us up to the promises, man? Okay, we gotta examine ourselves. When we meditating, is death on the table? You know, brothers. You know, brothers gonna get powers. Okay, well, some brothers, hey, gonna get beheaded. Okay, so we gotta deal with both sides of the spectrum coming into this thing. But see, we gotta have faith. The elect win either way. You know, and we should grow and we should have a healthy hatred of this world, especially where it's going. So if we hate the old world, why the hell would we conform, okay, and bend the knee to the new world, which is going to be far worse? Okay, we think we see freaks and widows now, man. This devil, you know, was able to get this thing up and running, and you know, this would be the most bugged out, lewd, worst place to be a man, okay, system ever was, man. Okay, worst place to be a human in this shit, man. Okay, it says an enticement to sin, temptation, all right, whether arising from desires or from outward circumstances. You see, because you got, you know, certain desires in us, and this is why also in this grace period, man, we got to tame these desires, man. You know, because Esau is going to play on the desires within you, and he's going to create, all right, outward circumstances. Okay, it's going to create desperation. You see, a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of people that volunteer, okay, for this system, but then there's going to be a lot of people that bend the knee based off of desperation because of what outward circumstances, man. Okay, so we got to really examine ourselves daily, man. Okay, adversity, affliction, trouble sent by the Most High and serving to test or prove one's character, faith, and holiness, man. Okay, so this is the temptation that's coming to try the world, man. Okay, and the elect will be, all right, proven in these times. Okay, but the Lord is constantly taking us on trials now. We should be performing now. Okay, examining now, making adjustments. Okay, now. All right. So let's go back to um 2 Corinthians 13. Go to NLT. All right, 2 Corinthians 13 and in 6 it says, as you test yourselves, I hope you will recognize that we have not failed the test, all right, of apostolic authority. We pray to the Most High that you would not do what is wrong by refusing our correction. I hope we won't need to demonstrate our authority when we arrive. Do the right things before we come, even if that makes it look like we have failed to demonstrate our authority, man. So the Apostle Paul, like, look, man, I'll make these corrections, before I get there, man. I'm not really trying to be on that on that time when I get there, man. Do what y'all gotta do, man. Y'all come on, man. It said, for we cannot oppose the truth, all right, but must always stand for the truth, man. You know, which is in KJV, what we can do nothing, all right, against the truth, before the truth, and that's why no matter what happens, it all magnifies the truth. Even what these jakes are on, is magnifying certain topics, all right, that we need to brush back up on and get a more thorough understanding. I know now, I see why all the nations are going down with Esau, because they all, okay, are tied into this nigga with this system that he's trying to roll out. They're all a part of this rebellion. Okay, all of them are a part of this rebellion, man. Okay, he said, for we cannot oppose the truth, but must always stand for the truth. We are glad, all right, we are glad to seem weak if it helps show that you are actually strong. We pray that you will become mature. I am writing this to you before I come, hoping that I won't need to deal severely with you when I do come, for I want to use the authority of the Lord has given me, okay, to strengthen you, not to tear you down. All right, to strengthen you and not to tear you down. And it's all about them maturing in Yahawashi. Okay, you see the ones that we are glad to seem weak if it helps to show that you are actually strong. We pray that you will become mature. Okay, and it's mature in Yahawashi. Okay, let's get on with that word. It's all about us conforming and you know and growing in our measure of Yahawashi. Okay, that's what we're here for, brothers, to grow in our measure in Yahawashi. Okay, that's what this whole thing about. We were born, okay, because that you be made complete. Okay, which is over here.
Strong's G 2676. Cathartisis. Cathartisis.
All right, catharsis, which is a strengthening, perfecting of a soul, a training, discipline, instructing. Okay, so we're being trained up in Yahawashi. We're being trained to be likened unto Yahawashi. That's why we go through the similar sufferings of Yahawashi. Okay, the Lord is fashioning his sons. Okay, like Yahawashi. Okay, that's why you go here to the book of Romans. All right, and this is the quest. Okay, of the hopeful elect Israelite man in captivity is to be conformed to Yahawashi, man. All right, which is pleasing to our power. Okay, when you go here, this is just in KJV. It's in Romans 8:29. It said, "For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, okay, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." Okay, so there's a remnant, okay, amongst that remnant, the men have been predestined to be conformed, all right, to the image of his son, to the image of Yahushua, to take on the form, all right, of Yahushua. Okay, and then you have, the sincere women that's going to come under the order of those men, okay, that's taking on that form of Yahushua, man. Okay, for the sake of salvation, man, for the sake of, the next rulership, okay, that's getting ready to be established in the earth. Okay, so you go into the word conform, okay, which in the Greek,
Strong's G 4832. Sumarphos.
sumo.
Sumarphos.
Okay, yep, it says having the same form as another, all right, and then it's Yahushua, all right, so filling out measuring Yahushua, all right, it says, go down the Strong's, it says jointly formed, all right, i.e., conform to fashion like unto, man. That's another thing these trials are doing is fashioning us liking unto Yahushua. Okay, we're being fashioned like, all right, Yahushua. Okay, through these trials, through these sufferings, because Yahushua was what perfected, okay, in sufferings. Hebrews 2, we'll close it out here. Second, Hebrews chapter 2, verse 10 said, "For it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons." You see, we're following the path, the blueprint of Yahushua to glory, man, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings, man. And he's been made perfect through sufferings. Now we're being made perfect through sufferings, man. That's why we go through the similar things. We was born in the same setup. Okay, our people in captivity, Esau and rulership. Okay, you know, being looked down upon. Okay, no credibility in this system. You see, mocked, scoffed, lied upon. Caring about your people more than anybody, but it's not reciprocated, man. We don't get that back. But still law, we gotta finish the assignment. We gotta be faithful to the assignment. Okay? Putting off, our ambition in this world, decreasing so Yahawashai can increase in us. Okay? So we going through all those sufferings Yahawashai went through so we can be perfected with Yahawashai, you know. So that's the point, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edify once again. I'm gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful. Shalom.